In this video, we're going to learn about different kinds of button dynamics and how to configure them. GraphWorx 64 provides 4 predefined button types: regular button, checkbox, radio button, and display button. Regular button is an animated rectangle that performs an action when the user interacts with it. A checkbox and radio button act more like a switch to change the state of a data either on or off. A display button is used to open a display, while the button is set to illustrate the display. And finally, pick action is a dynamic that you can apply to any object to turn that object into a button. A pick action identifies the command that a button performs, such as load a display, set object visibility, or to write value to a variable when the button is triggered. The predefined buttons and pick action dynamic are available from the Dynamics ribbon in the button section. Buttons are a great way of setting a state assignment so that one action occurs or a condition on your display is encountered. We will create an example where a button is created and toggled as a Boolean value such that it controls the value of a process point and the color dynamic of a circle. First, click on the process point button in the text object section and click on the canvas to create a process point object. Set the data source property of the process point to a static value under Data Connectivity, OPC Data Access, Simulation, Double, Static. Click on the checkbox in the button section and set the data source property of the button object to be consistent. We will then set the unchecked value property to be 1 and unchecked value to be 0. Note that the command property is set to write value by default as a checkbox button, and you could change the command in the drop-down list. Details of command property will be further discussed in a series of videos under Commanding section. You can also customize when and how the trigger will be executed, whether by a certain mouse click or certain keys being pressed on the keyboard. Right now, we are using the default setting, which is that when the left mouse clicks the button, the checkbox is being checked. Execution trigger is true when checkbox is either checked or unchecked, since both actions should write a new value to the variable. You could also change the type of pick behavior in the pick mode property to a normal button or radio button. The initial click property determines whether to perform the dynamic immediately when entered runtime mode. When you're ready, go into runtime mode. If the checkbox is checked, the process point value will appear to be 1. Otherwise, it will be 0. Next, we will create a circular shape on the canvas, and with the circle selected, change its color to red. Then assign color dynamic to it. Set the data source to be the same static variable. The animation mode is going to be discrete in this case because the animation happens as a result of a condition that resembles an on and off switch. The use end color property is set to be true and the end color is going to be green. Since the use start color is set to false, it uses the color it finds for the object initially, which is red. Now we will go into runtime. With the checkbox unchecked, the process point will appear to be 0 and the circle will remain red, and when the checkbox is being checked, the process point value will still appear to be 1 and the circle will change to be green. Next, we will add the pick action dynamic to an object. Go back to configuration mode. I will add a text box in my display and add a pick action dynamic to it. Choose the command of Set Object Visibility. This can be used to hide or show one or many objects in the display. Under Command Parameters, Object Name, type asterisk. The wildcard character here means all of the objects in the display. Now we will go into runtime. The previously defined dynamics are still working fine, but when the mouse hovers over the text, it becomes a printer, suggesting that this text is clickable. Click on the text and you will see everything disappears.